All right, so hello everyone. For those that just joined, my name is Miss Valerie Sellers, and for those that have already seen me, I'm sorry, I'll be talking a lot, but just trust me. Trust me. For those that have had my classes before, I don't always talk this much. Sometimes I sing too, but no, I don't always talk this much. Okay, my classes are like pretty interactive for the most part. I'm also a big fan of group work. I think group work is a good way to learn and connect with other students as well. So obviously from online because social distancing, and um, so yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, so for those that just joined, welcome. For those that have still been here, or oh, sorry, for those that are still here, welcome back. So as mentioned, so my name is Miss Valerie Sellers. I have a Bachelor of Arts, History Honors and American Sign Language. I've taught, this number needs to be updated because I've taught at least 15 CSSB classes. I have lots of teaching. I kids from I have taught kids from age 3 up until like high school. So I have a lot of teaching experience, and I just love teaching. And when it comes to my history degree, some people ask, oh, well, how's that useful? Well, history is very useful in the sense that I have a lot of experience with writing and the whole revision and writing process, as well as researching, and those are all key things or key elements when it comes to English writing and grammar, which is what this course is. So about grammar and writing, so this program is open to students that are interested in enhancing their English language, writing, and literacy skills. All classes are taught by university educated teachers. During the course of each semester, the child will learn theme-based grammar exercises, basics for writing and speaking correctly, understand parts of a sentence and how they are used, understand punctuation and how to appropriately and effectively use them, and learn and enforce essential grammar skills. Okay, so I know that was kind of a mouthful, but I always like to give that right off the bat. So for the beginner level, I think that it's really important to create like a solid foundation of brainstorming, how to write paragraphs and essays, properly using synonyms, and how to use a thesaurus. Okay, that's very important. That way we're not, repeatedly using the same words. We're making things a bit more interesting. Learn how to use formal language in writing. Okay, so something, in my English grammar and writing classes, on the first day of class, I always have students do kind of like an in-class evaluation sort of, so I can get a deeper understanding of, their level of grammar and writing. And then I continuously, like every week, I always assign homework. Um, some students say it's a lot of homework, but that is also dependent on what the student's needs are, as well as what the parent also wants and expects for their child too. So, I am in constant communication. We are in constant communication with the parents to make sure that, everything's going well, everything's meeting their expectations, etc., as much as possible. And then at the end, on the last day of class, I always have an in-class evaluation again to kind of compare how their skills have developed throughout the course. And I do that on the last day of class or the second last day of class to just kind of check in, sort of thing. And it also just gives me a good idea on what students have absorbed and what they have not. And I always provide feedback. In terms of, sorry, oh yeah, learn how to use formal language in writing. Okay, this is something that's I find particularly trickier with younger students, just because, formal writing is more of an expectation of the older grades, which is true. However, I think if you can start getting into the habit of writing and speaking in a more formal language, at least in a school setting context. I think that that's very beneficial for when they do reach the older grades. Improve spelling and understanding homonyms, how to effectively connect ideas. Okay, there's, I find basically not even just younger grades, but all grades, sometimes, and obviously not all students, but some students, they struggle with connecting their ideas. Sometimes they'll be talking about, the environment in one sentence, and then literally 2 sentences down they'll talk about politics, and it just doesn't flow nicely. And it can sound pretty awkward. So we work on that. We work on trying to resolve awkward sentences, because I think that that's something that every student has faced, that has experienced, is the curse of when teachers write awkward or awkward sentence. Okay, I've gotten that too when I was in high school many moons ago, but I've gotten that too. So it's important to look at that. We can practice writing poems, short essays, short stories, and well-structured paragraphs. Okay, I always like to I like to design my classes in a sense where, I aim for students to feel like a little bit, I guess challenged is the word. Like, I want to challenge them a little bit without making them feel like this is like impossible or anything. But I always think it's good to strive a little bit farther than what you might, or what your own expectation is. I think it's always good to strive a little bit beyond that if possible, if that makes sense. And then in the intermediate level, we'll be learning how to write 5-paragraph essays effectively, avoiding run-on sentences. Okay, that can be a really big issue no matter what your age is, and ensuring sentences are coherent and concise. Creating effective theses. Okay, that is also another thing that we look into quite deeply. And for those, this is a question that I often get, which is, oh, Miss Sellers, I was in your intermediate class, last semester, and I want to be in your intermediate class again this semester. Is the content going to be the same as last semester? My answer is, for the most part, no, because I am aware that there are a lot of returning students. And obviously, like, I'm not the only English teacher. There are other Canada Super Spelling Bee English teachers too, but it's, I am one of them. So I try to change it up as much as possible, because I know that, like, I know that if you're, sitting in on class and you've already learned this material, it can be very boring. It can feel very pointless. So that's why I always try to change up the material, the topics, the activities. I try my best to do that. But basically, we cover a lot. We'll practice directional and persuasive writing, improving spelling and understanding homonyms, similar to the beginner level, however, more kind of complex words and concepts. Conduct research by understanding how to locate academic and peer-reviewed sources. Okay, that is a big thing, as well as understanding how to properly cite or reference, like books, novels, articles, newspapers, photos. Okay, those are all important things that students should learn, basically. Create biographical essays and writing newspaper articles. Okay, those are all things that we'll be covering. And I already said that I assign homework every week, and my expectation, obviously, sometimes things come up and students can't complete their homework on time, and honestly, that's fine. Just, as I've said before, homework is, in my opinion, and as studies have shown, a key part of continued learning and continued success. So I think there's a lot of benefits to homework as well. So did you know that these words do you know the plural to these words? So bacterium is actually singular. So singular as in one, plural as in more than one. So bacteria, but singular version is bacterium. Okay. And then cacti, which is plural, that's more than one cactus. Okay. That's an individual cactus. And then spaghetti, it becomes spaghetto. Okay. So that's just kind of a little like fun fact sort of, but we also look into that as well because, you know, there's been a lot of times where, you know, some students, they'll write, you know, the singular form for something when they mean the plural, or they'll write the plural form when they mean the singular. And sometimes it's just a small detail, but other times it's like it can change the meaning of a sentence, you know? And something that we also look at is subject-verb agreement. Does anyone here know what subject-verb agreement is? Anyone?
Me.
Perfect. Kevin, would you like to explain?
Subject-verb agreement is what the noun and the verb have to agree in numbers.
Absolutely. That was well explained, Kevin. Thank you. So let me give you an example. So let me bring up the whiteboard, okay? So if I were to say, let me see. Okay, here. Everyone must, sorry, I was thinking of a bad example. That's a bad example. Okay, okay. The birds were dancing in the rain, okay? This is grammatically correct because were is plural, more than one, okay? Were, that is a plural verb. And then birds is a plural noun, okay? So they must meet, okay? So sometimes I've had students write, the birds was dancing in the rain, or they'll say, the class were well behaved or something. And you know, this is very basic. Well, depending on if you're in the intermediate or beginner level, we'll do like more advanced subject verb agreements and vice versa, because this is a common kind of error sort of that occurs. So an example is everyone. Everyone, that is actually singular. That is not plural. Okay, singular, one. Okay, everyone, literally meaning everyone, like every one person. So that's singular. Okay, so that if it's a singular noun, it requires a singular verb. Okay, you would not mix singular verb with a plural noun. Does that make sense? Okay, so so hold on, let me just find it. So there's a bunch of kind of different things that we do. Something that I like doing with my students is I like to, in you know, the kind of the beginning course, I like to do like a little haiku with them, which a haiku is a 3-line non-rhyming form of poetry that originated in Japan. The first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables. I do this with my beginner class, and the third line has 5 syllables. Okay, so the spring is in the air, that's 5 syllables. Flowers blooming, rain falling, that's 7 syllables. Earth comes back to life, that is 5 syllables. So and then I asked students to write their own haiku. So that this is just kind of a little demo example. And then this was actually a project from last semester. And I try not to have, you know, too much overlap because again, like I can get returning students, so I don't want to bore them sort of. But this is just an example from like last semester. Okay, so how to write a biographical introduction. So basically, so bio as in life and graph as in writing, so life writing. Okay, this is just an example for what I would show like the intermediate. I would show them how to write a biographical introduction, and then we would look at other, you know, other parts of the essay. And I also, again, it's really, really important to understand how to write a proper thesis statement, because, this, especially in the older grades, the expectation is higher to have a solid thesis statement provided with good evidence. So this is kind of an example. I would get each student to choose like a historical figure or a public figure, I guess, and basically do a bunch of research on it, and we could do it together. It could also be some for homework, and then they fill out an essay structure and then give it to me. I give feedback, and then we just kind of work like that. And I'm also a big fan of peer revisions and peer review. I think it's a good kind of exercise for other students to know kind of new ways on how to write, because writing is truly subjective. Obviously with grammar errors and punctuation, there's a right and there's a wrong, but when it comes to writing, and it can be very opinion based. So I think it's great to have more than just one kind of opinion looking and reading your paper. So that being said, we have 5 minutes left of this kind of session. Do I have any questions? Now's a good time if you feel comfortable.
Any questions about grade levels or anything? Anybody? I guess not. If there are any, then you can either email through the website where there's the contact information and we could talk to Ms. Ellis, or you could either find some other way. If you register, then you could find answers by there. But yeah, so I think, oh, and there is a question. So can it be for level 10? Not quite sure what. Check in the chat.
Hi, so level 10, do you mean like grade 10, or what do you mean by that? Level 10. I'm not quite sure about level 10. Like, I think that there's like 2 or 3 different levels for like intermediate, and then there's beginner. So I'm not quite sure about the level 10, what that question is.
Okay, yeah. So we only offer a few levels, like there's beginner and then intermediate, intermediate 2, things like that. And if you go onto our website, you could check out what levels there are. We don't have a level 10, but we might grow our levels. But yeah, it's for the future. Okay, I think that we have more questions.
Oh, okay. I have another question. Do we have to buy books? So in the past, I have asked students to buy a workbook and like from Amazon, and an ebook. One was for a novel study and the other was a workbook. Using those two, we kind of use them for homework and in-class activity purposes. This semester, however, I did not assign any workbook or ebook. I don't think, don't quote me on this, but in the upcoming semester, I don't think that my class will be assigning the requirement to buy a book. And if so, it's not going to be like an expensive book or anything. The book that I assigned my students in the last semester, it was like, I think it was like $5 like ebook, but again, it's still kind of in the works. But it has happened before, but it's not happening in this semester, but I'm not sure about the next semester. So sorry about that.
Yeah, so we won't really force any of the students to buy anything. Like they don't have to, but the teachers can maybe work around that. But if they have, then there's a possibility that can be assigned, but most likely not. But just look out for that.